Hello and welcome to the Gooner Ramble podcast. I'm your host Giles, and joining me as ever are regulars Mark. How you doing, mate? You alright?
Yeah, I'm alright, Giles. Thanks very much, mate.
Man, and also we've got Clive. How you doing, Clive? You okay?
I'm good. Wake up, Mark. Come on, son.
Yeah, sorry, I was a bit distracted there.
Well, we're coming to you the night after another gallant failure in the Champions League. As Mark said in the last podcast, he called it a heroic failure, and it's turned out to be just that for the sixth consecutive year. I don't know what's more alarming, whether the fact that we've played 8, lost 5, and won only 3 of our Champions League games this season, or the fact that we couldn't get our act together in the first 2 games of this campaign, which led us to this inevitable ending. So I don't know where to start, really. But I think I'll ask you, Mark, what's your short but concise review of the game and our Champions League campaign, really?
I'm not really going to talk about the campaign in general. I think it was a pretty disastrous campaign. It's, I don't want to even think about it. The results and the performances speak for themselves. Barcelona, look, we all knew what we were basically going to get. As soon as we got the draw, it was always going to be tough. They are probably the best team in the world at the moment. I think the only team that's anywhere near them is Munich. I just wanted to see, as I said the other day, that we'd go out there, put on at least a decent display, particularly for the travelling fans, because those people have spent a lot of money to go out there. Plus, it was pissing with rain, and they're about 8 miles up in the stands away from the pitch. So they deserved a bit of effort, and I thought we got it. The team selection was very interesting. Everybody lost their shit because Flamini was playing, because Iwobi was starting. No offence to Iwobi, but I think people were sort of wondering why was Campbell not playing, why was Coquelin not playing. But it looked good. Then they got the first goal. I think they always looked like they had at least, it was a bit same to the Emirates. They always looked like they had more gears. We looked like we were playing well. We had chances, and if we were a bit better at finishing, the one that Welbeck hit onto his own foot, the one second half where you're looking at El Neni and thinking, just fucking put your foot through it first time, boy. You don't need another touch. But I was kind of watched the performance, and considering who we were playing, I was pleased with most of our play. I liked the performances. I thought Iwobi did well for such a young lad, 19-year-old playing in a new camp. I thought he did well, and I enjoyed watching it without too much stress of thinking, are we going out? Because I'd already sort of given up on that. But it's just very, very frustrating that you can watch an Arsenal team play that well, even though, big open spaces in a new camp, Barcelona team kind of going through the motions a bit. You can play that well against them, but you can't put in that performance at home in the cup against Watford. That's the kind of the thing that sticks with me. It just pisses me off a bit. But other than that, I thought some of the boys played really well.
Yeah, Clive, Mark makes a lot of good points there, especially about the players that could sort of walk tall. There's quite a few of them, had creditable performances. El Nene stood out. Iwobi stood out as well. I think Danny ran the channels and bullied and hustled people as well as anyone. The tactics were generally good. But, coming up against MSN, it was only a matter of time, and they did what they did. So, Clive, as well as giving your review of the game, tell me, why is it Wenger sort of seems to get up for these kind of games and gets the tactic and the shape right and whatnot, and the personnel right for these type of games? And as Mark says I suppose for want of a better word, it doesn't really come up trumps against some of the more inferior opposition that we've seen this season.
I don't think he rotates very well. I don't think Wenger really builds his squad with rotation in mind. So the team we played against Watford, I call it our slow team. With Mertesacker in, Chambers in, with Giroud up front. That's our slow passing team. I call it like our academy football, passing shape team. It's not dynamic. It's not penetrating. When we get serious, we play our fast team. And that means we have our fast centre-backs. We have our fast centre-forward. We normally have good dynamic players in wide positions. And me, I prefer a fast Arsenal. Always have done. I like players who can move from zone to zone. I don't like players who are vulnerable physically at the back, that people can pick on them. I like having, smart, energetic, quick fullbacks. They're agile one-on-one in the tackle. Don't get done on the outside so easily. I like a forward who can stretch play, run channels. I like wide men that can dribble. I just like teams that can challenge you with dynamism and quickness and agility, as well as technical ability. I think sometimes we play a slow Arsenal. So when we rotate, we've literally got two different systems, two different styles. I don't think it suits. And if you're building a squad, you should be able to rotate the same profile of player with the primary profile of player. So if Danny Welbeck, who seems to be our number one centre forward, plays, then we should have another one like him. Right, so and then Giroud is your other option. That
the impact option.
Yeah, like Leicester used to Joa. Mm-hmm. He doesn't play every game, but last 30 minutes, if they're pressuring a team and they're close to the team's goal, they bring on somebody who may not be mobile but is a beast in the box, right? And that's what Giroud is. But Giroud not only has got to be that player, he plays away from home, he plays in Europe. And I think we ask too much of him. And in the modern game, you need at least three good options. And we've got one. We had another one that's just arrived in February. And we got Theo Walcott. Well, we're not too sure about him, really, are we? So we're not too sure what he is, and we can't find him. He's gone missing. So we haven't got the options that we really need. And then we're talking about quality of those individuals, which we can debate. And their chance conversion is, it's there for all of us to see, right? Our shots to goal scoring ratio in the last couple of months has been shocking. So we're challenged, right? So I don't think he builds, I question how he builds squads. I question how he keeps players on too long and what that does to other people's motivations in our culture.
Mark, there's a big thing about trust, isn't it? People say it's his biggest strength and his biggest weakness. And, we've already talked about, as you said, the Colney crash and mollycoddling and so on and so forth. But do you think this summer is about time we saw maybe an upheaval? Maybe some guys have sort of like passed their sell-by date in terms of what they can do for this team, this squad, this club. I'm not just talking about Flamini, Arteta, and Rosicky, but some of the guys that Wenger's put a lot of trust and faith in.
Well, yeah, but then then you're talking a very, very large number of players, particularly if you look across the squad. I mean, you could say, right, Rosicky will go, Arteta will go, Flamini will go, Debussy will go. Yeah, that's already four. Now, you could say none of them are starters, but if any of them were particularly fit, they would maybe give you the opportunity to rotate in those positions that other players can't. Then you're moving on to people like, okay, how long will Ospina be happy playing the odd game here and there if Cech is injured or in the cups? What's the situation with Ox? Ox will have, I think, is it maybe 1 to 2 years left on his contract from next season? So, what's he going to be looking to do? You've got players starting to get older. Giroud is going to be 30. Cos is into his 30s. We've now come to the point, I think, where you've got a lot of players coming to either the end of their usefulness to Arsenal through their quality, or their usefulness through their age and ability to stay fit. So I don't know, mate. I mean, I presume that we're all assuming that he'll be in charge again during the summer and for the last season of his contract at least, because we've spoken about that. Is he gonna go mad? On one hand, will he even be able to get the money released by Kroenke that he would need to really add players to the squad, not just the top quality first choice players, but also those ones that can do what Clive has said, so that you can bring in someone who is a similar style of player and approaching the same level of quality to give you the opportunity to rotate, because that's what we need to do. It's so tough to try and maintain a challenge across the three major competitions that you need a squad to do that, and we're losing a lot of players from the squad. Not that I'm that sad to see half of them go. Half of them I'd quite happily fucking pay their bus fare now, but it's going to be a big old summer, and
it's go on, mate, go on.
And I'm just I don't know. He always gives it the being about, you can't make too many changes to a squad. Well, I think we'd have to make them, to be fair.
Do you see? I mean, like I say, it looks like it's going to be his last season, 2016-17. We're talking about the numbers we're talking about. You guys are suggesting we're talking of upheaval, transition. Like you say, he doesn't really like bringing in more than 3 to a squad. So is he going to upheave? Is he going to change it all about?
I think
that the next man has got something to work with, a blank canvas, so to speak, to work with, or will it be up to the next man that comes in to make the big calls and start the process of bringing his own personnel in? Clive, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, we've been talking a lot about change and is it the right time for change, and obviously there's a massive split about that. That split seems to be not such a big split as it used to be. If he wants to stay and really get people to believe in him again, he has to make a massive change to the playing staff. And when we didn't sign an outfield player in the summer, I was okay up to a point until the moment Welbeck wasn't coming back from injury and Jack got injured. Welbeck was injured maybe just before the transfer deadline, and I thought that was a mistake not to replace him. And I look at it now, but I think when you don't sign someone, what does that actually tell you? What does that actually tell the players that are already there? That makes them immediately feel comfortable. Wenger might say it makes them feel relaxed, but their performances are not. Once you're relaxed, you can be creative. You can play the style of football you want to play. But actually, I think they've gone the other way. I think they've got comfortable, and we've spoken about that and the players' desire. But I do think if he wants to stay, he's got to make us all believe in him again. And the only way he can do that is to do some housekeeping in the squad. But actually, if he's really serious about changing the culture, it's not just those deadwood players which we can name, and we can debate a couple. So the 3 or 4 ones that are a little bit older, maybe even Mertesacker in that as well, with Arteta, Florini, Rosicky. The goalkeeper's going to want to play. I totally agree with that. Debussy is going to want to go, so we've got to find a young fullback to come in. Gibbs, I like Gibbs. I'd like him to stay, but not everyone agrees with me. But
what about him? I mean, he's not getting playing time. He's at prime age. He's 26. He's not getting games. Is he going to compensate with a cup game or 2?
Well, I don't know. I don't know about you. Have you read in the press anywhere that he wants to leave? I haven't.
No, but obviously not. But you got to, as a player coming into in his prime, 26 years of age, he's not getting any games.
He's not getting any games. And Arsenal are looking at a young boy at Leicester and another. Yeah,
Chilwell, whatever his name is, right?
Potentially, they're looking at him, and there's another player they're looking at, a French player, I think. But you know what? I think it wouldn't concern me if he stayed. We got a quota to fill up. Don't forget, can't sell everybody, right? So, but I do think if he is serious about changing the mentality, he has got to let a couple go quite big. Because otherwise, there's no price, right? So, and there's a couple of players that I'm not against going. And it's not because I massively dislike them, just that I feel as though, there isn't many cases where Arsenal buy a player and then sell them 2-3 years later. They keep them for a long time. They don't buy a player and just throw them aside. And I think you need to do that now and again, because it sends a message to others to say, look, if I don't do it, I won't be here anymore. And at the moment, Arsenal is not too. Once you get in, it's hard to get out, and I think it's too comfortable.
Okay, Mark. Clive said that we have to raise some funds basically by selling some players that probably younger players that probably aren't doing it anymore. But isn't there an elephant in the room?
Oh, I'm not actually. I'm not saying younger players, right? I'm actually saying that Arsenal should really take a couple big pieces out. I'm talking
Ramsey. You're talking or Ox or Walcott. I imagine.
I'm talking Ramsey, who I think's got ambitions maybe beyond Arsenal, and I'm talking Walcott, who I think needs to be. I think 10 years is enough, right?
So to me, they're younger players in their prime, people that can raise money, that you can actually raise some money from. But also, I want to ask. There's also another burning question is, of the top world-class players that we have, who's going to want to stay? If we can't get any further than the FA Cup, 2 FA Cups, or the last 16 of a Champions League campaign, or the top 4 of a Premier League campaign, who's going to want to stay? I mean, we're talking about professional integrity, maybe wanting to win things. Who's going to want to stay then? Are we overlooking this kind of this possibility, Mark?
No, I don't think we are at all. I think everybody looks at, if you look at, we've got 2 top quality players in Ozil and Alexis, both of whom the club I think would like to extend contracts. Reports in the media, whether there's any truth in them or not, says that neither of them are particularly interested in talking about that at the moment. So you look at Ozil and you sort of think, how long really is he going to want to stick around? I think if you look at his body language of late, he went through a real purple patch. I think his body language of late suggests that he's possibly a little bit tired and a little bit fed up. He would be wanted by most major clubs in most major leagues. So he knows that he'd have no trouble getting a move to somewhere where he thinks that he might be part of a club that's going to challenge for the major trophies. Alexis, again, he's the sort of fellow who puts 110% effort into every single game he plays. He's very hard on himself. Now, I can imagine if he's very hard on himself, he's probably fairly critical, not necessarily out fronting to people, but he's fairly critical of some of the players that he might be playing with. And again, he might think the same thing. He's won FA Cup enough for him to stay when he could probably get a move to a big club in one of the top leagues. So no, I think it's definitely a chance that those 2 are going to be difficult to keep on past their contract date now. But and I agree with what Clive says about some of the others. Maybe it is time to get rid of them because it's been too comfortable. My only concern would be is that I can't really see Wenger selling Walcott, because that would be Wenger admitting that it failed with Walcott. That in 10 seasons he never really got out of him what he thought he could. Ox, I don't think he'd give up quite so soon. But again, that's up to whether Ox wants to move. And Ramsey does have ambitions. I think he does. He is a bit of a Charlie Big Potatoes, but I'm not convinced that he's actually showing the form that would want many bigger clubs than Arsenal wanting to spend a lot of money on him. But again, would I be that upset about him leaving? Not on this season's form, to be fair. Mm-hmm. So no, I think Clive raises some very good points there.
The reason, Clive, I asked about Ozil and Sanchez is because Wenger's is very, very, even before going in for transfer dealings, he'll always talk about keeping the squad together, keeping the key guys, tying them up to long-term contracts and whatnot. And as Mark has said, there's a worry that our 2 top players are showing signs of, I don't know if restlessness is the right word, but, people are getting worried. And if you're not sure about keeping those 2 guys, how are you going to attract the other big players that you need? If your 2 best players, your two new North Stars, gems in the team are looking agitated.
We don't know, right? We're just putting 2 and 2 together. So every time Ozil's gone back to the old body language when he gives the ball away, and so we were thinking, he's probably not very happy. Well, but we don't know. Right, we're just guessing, and Sanchez, he doesn't really speak that much. You don't really hear about him talking about his underlying love for Arsenal, really, do you? Right. So he sounds to me like a professional footballer that plays his football 100% wherever it is. If they, when part of a recruitment plan really is looking at how you keep players like them, and you know what, players like them can get managers the sack, if we see at Chelsea, right? The top boys don't play. That's it. The manager goes. It's going to be interesting to see as they negotiate the contracts, and then they're coming up to that period, the end of the season, what they're going to say to these boys. And they've got to say one thing: either the leadership will change, or the player pool will change. But I know the last podcast was all about change, but change really is coming to Arsenal. And we don't know if it's going to be the players. We don't know if it's going to be the manager. We don't know if it's going to be, some of us hope it's going to be the board, would like it's going to be the board. But I just see a massive period of change coming up, because I do not think we can go back through the same cycle one more year. I think there'll be uproar if we do. There needs to be something significant. The old articles about the 75 million war chest came out a couple of weeks ago, and everyone just laughed at it because they see it every single year. It's just not going to work anymore. Fans are wise. They can remember what was said the previous year. And I tell you what, everyone is watching this group in the next 8 or 9 games, see what they do, and then see what changes are coming. And it needs to be real, because I don't think people are buying the bluster.
Me neither. Okay, let's take it back a step to the game. I want to ask you, Clive, who stood out for you in an Arsenal shirt last night?
Yeah, well, I always look at centre midfield mostly, right? So I liked El Neni before he came here. Once I heard about him, I started to look at him, and straight away, just the way he moves to me just looks like a centre midfielder. And we were going through a period of what I call lack of control in that centre mid, and he doesn't vacate it. He moves the ball quickly. He receives it on both feet, on the back foot, which when you say when someone receives it on the back foot, what that does is it opens out the pitch for the next pass. He does that brilliantly. His movement is metronomic. He sort of is metronomic like a young Cesc Fabregas. He doesn't stop, supports the ball. He was unlucky not to score against Watford, right? And he dealt with that against Barcelona, and he scored. And the reason why he's getting chances is his timing of arriving. I think what's happened with Ramsey from 2013 is he's already there. He's already like a second forward. If you're midfielder, it's all about how you should always stay level or behind the ball and then arrive, so it's cut back to you. He done it on Sunday and against Watford, and he done it again last night. And it's just not getting too excited and filling the space. And I call it marking yourself like a school kid, but you're in the area, so you feel good. It's very, very juvenile, right? What he does is he stands still and waits, and he arrives at speed. I think he's a very smart player. And again, he looks like he's got something to prove. And it's so refreshing to see a player that doesn't believe he's arrived. We haven't seen that for a long time. These players, they all believe they've arrived. And it's just so good to see a player a little bit rough around the edges, but wants it and got out there on the biggest stage possible. And he's delivered a great performance. And I know we're slaughtering the manager, but fair play to him for finding him, because that's a great buy.
You make a good point about not being ahead of the ball, arriving on time. And far too often we see Ramsey ahead of the ball, and snatching at his chances maybe, and so on and so forth. But you said before that what you're seeing in El Neni is a proper midfielder. And he just looks like he's conscientious. He's aware of what's going on around him. He sees the picture. The passing, the technical ability he shows is there for all to see. Go on.
I'll just say, sorry, G, just to add to it. Yeah. What I like about him is his tactical positional awareness, right? So he just plays in his area and says, this is my area. I want to play here. And he can play slightly in front of a holding midfield player. You can imagine him at the base of the midfield. He's already shown us in a few short games that he can do both roles. And it's not about how you tackle, it's about how you press, how you move. I mean, he started some of our pressing moves last night, And just by his body language when he went in, he just encouraged other people to follow him. So sometimes you send a message by what you do as a player. And other players, I always look at other players judge a player real quick. And they reacted to him, slightly nervous to him. He got the turnover and then ended up with the goal. So I think for a short time he's been here, coming from a Swiss league, he's showing some real promising signs. It really is. And it'll be interesting to see how we develop upon him and what we'll do with him next year. Because I said it a little while back, he'll be in the team within a year, first pick. I might have to. He could be first pick already, right? Given the resources we have, right? So, yeah, he looks a very good player to me. It's going to set a lot of other players free.
Mark, I've got a question. I just lost the question here from a listener, and I wanted to give it to you. But just whilst I'm looking, you said already Iwobi, really did well for a 19-year-old on that stage. I mean, some people say he was arguably our best. Apart from El Nene, I suppose, he was like our second best player last night. What is it you liked about what you saw in Iwobi yesterday?
Well, I've said this in the past with Iwobi. He reminds me a little bit of a young Rocky, to be fair, because Rocky had no fear. He came into the team. He didn't really give a shit who he was playing with or who he was playing against. He just wanted to come play his game, play football. And Iwobi, it gives me that impression, I mean, he doesn't seem to care. He's not overawed with some of the people he's playing with. He's playing in a new camp. It'd be so easy for the lad to have frozen on the night, to have been overawed by the occasion and just to have withdrawn to himself. But he actually, I thought he always wants the ball. He never hides from the ball. It's another thing I like, is that he always wants it. I think technically he is very, very good. His touch, his passing is generally really, really good. And I just think he wants to get the ball and he wants to do something with it. Not necessarily always looking for another pass, although I'm sure we'll soon knock that out of him the more he plays with the first team. But he's not always looking to pass. He'll have a look and see what else he's on. And I just think for a lad of his age who hasn't even had a loan, pretty certain he hasn't, has he? He's not had a proper loan. He's not had a loan. No. For a lad who hasn't even had a loan, he's come into the team when he's had a chance, and I think he's done really well. And he's, to be honest, he's made the spotlight shine on a few of our other more experienced older players, and made them look pretty fucking poor in my eyes.
Well, I've just found the question I wanted to give you. And it's from Waleed Omer 159, and he asks, thoughts on Iwobi? I have him ahead of Theo now. Should he start some more games until the end of the season? So, Mark, just following on from that, is he a starter for you now? Or is it still a case for, Campbell and Theo?
I think there's still a case to have a look and see. But I mean, we've seen what Joel can offer us. I think we know what he can offer us. I'm still not convinced he's anything more than a Chris Ray for one season. I don't see him getting that much better than we've seen this year. But no, I mean, look, I like Iwobi. Why not give him a chance? I don't particularly think we're in a title battle at the moment. So why not give the lad a go? Let's put it this way: he can't do worse than some of the other people that we've put some trust in.
Okay, great stuff. Clive, David Ospina. I know goalkeeping is not your forte. But when he came in, when Czech went down lane, everybody, I suppose myself included, was very unsure about David Ospina coming in. We've all had kind of short memories. We've forgotten about the games that he'd done really well in last season, where I think he was one of the top shot stoppers or whatever in the Premier League last season. We all sort of centred on the fact that he dropped the ball in a goal mouth against Olympiacos. How have you seen his game? How do you assess his performance in his recent few games that you've seen him?
Yeah, I don't worry about him, right? He's not a kid. He's an international goalkeeper. He's 26, 27. He's played in different leagues. I don't worry about him at all. He's played in World Cups. I mean, he's a serious goalkeeper, right? He's a different goalkeeper. You heard me say I call him like a line goal. He's a typical South American keeper, right? He's much more of a line keeper. He takes crosses, but he's more interested in distribution and making saves. right? And he's very springy, quite agile, but he makes spectacular fast reflex slays. He doesn't. In England, we like to see big lumps in goal, right? We like 6'4" tight keepers. We feel comfortable with that. So he may not suit our eyes, and every time a shot goes in the postage stamp, we wonder if a taller keeper could have got it. But when it comes down to it, he's a proper goalkeeper, and we're probably going to lose him because he deserves to play to be first team somewhere. So we're probably going to lose him, and that would be a real shame. I wish he could stay because he's good enough. Yeah, he's good enough. But Czech's obviously better. Yeah. But we don't. I went to watch Brazil v Chile, and I watched the goalkeeper for Chile, and I looked at I think it's Navas. I think he might play for Real Madrid.
Is it Navas or Bravo? I think Navas is the. Oh, you might be right. Actually, you might be right. Go on.
And I'll tell you, I watched him distribution. And basically, it was stunning. And I looked at Ospina and the way he whips the ball out to the flanks. I mean, it's a major part of a team's arsenal now, is basically how their goalkeeper passes the ball out. And the South Americans are definitely ahead on that game. And that's how I see Ospina. Yes, he makes saves, but his distribution is really, really good. And I think we can all agree that Czech and Ospina's distribution is way better than what we used to see with Szczesny and Fabianski and Almunia. Dare I mention those names?
It's actually Bravo who plays for Barcelona.
Bravo, that's the one I mean. Yeah, Bravo. And basically, when you see him distribute the ball, it's like unbelievable. And then you realise how important that is to how a team plays. And I know a little bit about goalkeeping because I've seen some young goalkeepers come through academies, and they reckon in the Premiership, for every 10 touches, 9 is with your feet. So they are looking at that a lot more. So I can see why that goalkeeper is basically, 9's with your feet. So distribution is a huge part of a goalkeeper's job now, and Ospina does a great job with that.
Got another question here. I wanted to talk about Danny Welbeck, but we've all seen what he can do. I suppose what he needs to do is go to a finishing score for to get up his sort of like goal rate. But he gives us different looks, and he's as you said already, Clive, he should be our number one starter. I've got a question here from Jazz AFC, and he asks: is Gabriel going through a bad period of form, or is he being exposed as a player out of his depth? Mark.
I think it's difficult to say for the fella, to be honest, because he's been in and out of the team. He's 1 week he's playing with Mertesacker, the next week he's playing with Cos. He has had he's made some proper rickets. We've seen that his defending has been pretty poor, and it's the things that I would expect him to do better that he's been poor on. The goal against Watford, I always thought he would be like Keown, he would be all over the fella, but he'd be all over the fella not giving away a penalty and certainly not letting him turn or blocking a shot, whereas he just made it too easy for him. So I don't know. I mean, I think certainly the jury is very out on Gabriel. I thought he looked great when he arrived and earlier in the season, particularly like home to Liverpool and that. His form has dropped off, but there can be reasons for that. I think you definitely have to say that the guy is worth a run in the team now. I'm done with Mertesacker, to be perfectly honest. So I'd rather see those two become the main two centre halves, and let's see how they get on with it. But that said, if there was an opportunity to pick up a world class centre half who can also organise and lead a defence, then I just wouldn't hesitate to do that.
I was looking around. I've been looking online this week, looking at games and who scored and whatnot. And I tell you what, there aren't many ball-playing, comfortable centre halves out there. Leaders, organisers. It seems as though it's all about scoring these days, and the art of defending has sort of like been left in the 90s. I don't know what you think, Clive.
Well, can I just say something, Gabriel? I think there is a shortage of centre halves, and I think Gabriel was definitely one of those stat DNA buys, right? And he was always one for the future. And maybe his season's going to be next season, right? So But what I would say is that I really like the makeup of Gabriel and Koscielny, and I like, Gabriel played left centre back at Villarreal, and he's forced to go on the right when he plays with Koscielny. But when I watch Koscielny and Mertesacker play, I see Koscielny really trying to make that partnership work. Because Mertesacker's got obvious deficiencies in his game, Koscielny's role is really, really clear. But he's now a senior player, and he's now, potentially, he's our captain on occasion and could be our full-time captain next year. But what I don't see from him when he plays with Gabriel is the same bond. And I think as a senior player, he should be making that partnership work. But I don't see it, right? I don't think anyone else has noticed it. I don't see him helping him the way he should do as a senior player.
It's not because his game, though, Clive. It's just not his game.
Well, it needs to be.
I know, but
30,
yeah, I know, mate. But that's the thing. You know as well as I do, that a player is either that sort of a player. They're either a leader or they're a proper follower. And cos he's a follower, mate. He has to be led by the hand. He has to have the guy next to him that works with him. That is not cos, and he's 30, and I can't see it changing, unfortunately. Sorry, I didn't mean to butt in.
Right. No, absolutely. You might be right, and I think you are right. But I said a couple of weeks ago, I said with Gabriel, he actually needs to be that leader. You can see in him that I think there's a secret leader in there, and as soon as he feels confident within the club that he can be that leader, I think he may turn into that leader if he doesn't derail, because he's got a bit of an edge to him, right? He's got a bit of a tackle in him, and some people don't fancy that. But I see the start of a real leader in him. And if you're going to say to me which ones could end up being a leader, I pick Gabriel. Now, because his performances, they look like leadership performances, but I think he needs to do more to help his teammates, a bit more visibly, a bit more vocally, a bit more emotionally. I'm just not seeing it, and he needs to take that responsibility. He's a player and our captain, and he should be doing.
I tell you what I'm worried about is his technique. He's easily picked off. People like, if you look at the opposition, they're not that fussed about when he has the ball. In fact, they're more likely to close him down when Gabriel has the ball, because he is awful with the ball at feet. He is absolutely awful.
I think we got to stop. We got to stop this, right? All Arsenal fans, we do the same thing. We all think about the game. When we close our eyes, we think about the game when we've got the ball. That isn't the game. That isn't all the game. We are so easy to play against. That's why we get bounced out of Europe in the last 16 every year, because we can't defend. We don't have players with the physical capabilities to defend, cover midfield, the energy to cover midfield consistently. We're not just beaten technically by Barcelona, we're outrun by them. They are fitter than us. One of the big issues for me is not just about our playing quality, it's about the fact that we're not as fit as we used to be. We used to be fitter, faster, stronger. And what's changed in the Premiership is that everyone understands sports science. West Ham are as fit, as fast as us. Everton are fast. Crystal Palace are like lightning. These teams are big teams. Stoke have always been pretty big. Leicester, do you think they've won it on craft, or they won it on physicality, fitness, staying fit? Spurs, Bournemouth, the list goes on. We are not nowhere near that list anymore as one of the fittest teams. So we're relying on our technicality and our mentality. Well, our mentality is not quite there. And our technical play is wrapped up in a couple of players who've all lost form at the same time or injured, like Santi Cazorla. So I want to see we've got to stop about what we do and how quickly we pass it all the time. We've got to say, you know what? I want my defenders to defend and stop conceding the first goal in Europe and 2 goals in home in the first leg of the Champions League last 16. We've got to think about the balance a lot more and the competencies of those players. Football is not all about what you do on the ball. It's about how you keep your team shape, how compact you are, and how you create stress in other teams. And that's all Barcelona did. They wait for us to fall apart. And when we do late in games, they picked us off in both legs.
I'm not just talking about the Barcelona game, though. I'm talking about Gabriel in general. When I was at the Man United game, I properly studied him, and Man United were happy for him to have the ball at feet. Now, they stayed compact, and they caused stress in our game.
Okay, G. Okay, we're going to go into this one then. Yeah. So why are they happy for him to have the ball in feet? I'll tell you what, if Santi Cazorla was in the team, he'd be getting the ball off the back four, and he'd be the one building the play, and they'd be all over us a lot sooner than they would be if Santi Cazorla was building the play. They wouldn't give us the space. If Santi Cazorla plays, teams press up against us. It's just the makeup of the team. You're looking at the fact that Arsenal haven't really got a deep line playmaker, and they haven't had since Cazorla's been injured. And because of that, what they're going to do, they're going to let our centre halves have it, and they're going to mark the midfielders higher up.
But you say that, Clive. You say that, Clive. But Mertesacker's much more responsible with the ball at feet. Much more. Yep. Maybe it's because he's a lack of pace and he has to use his noggin.
He's just
I don't know what it is, but he's a lot more sensible with the ball in his possession.
Absolutely. He's a much better distributor than Gabriel is, but I'm afraid he can't defend his channel high up the pitch, right? So, which one do you want?
That's what I'm saying. So we should be looking at maybe bringing in somebody who can do a bit of both. And the art of defending, in my eyes, has sort of regressed. Because you used to have players like Nesta and who's the guy before Nesta at Milan, Gordon Bennett. I can't remember it. But, you used to have like real proper guys that could organise, lead and play football out of defence. We don't really seem to have that these days. I think the last one we've produced is probably Rio Ferdinand in England.
I think it's interesting. Like, sorry to cut you out of this, but John Stones is having a bit of a rough time, right? And he's a ball-playing centre-back. As soon as he makes a mistake or does a Cruyff turn, the fans are all over him, right? I mean, in this country, we like players to just head it and kick it and defend. So John Stones, in my mind, is a wonderful player in the making. But we're not used to players like that. We're not comfortable with it. What's that fancy Dan doing? Let's get it up the park. Right? What's he doing those turns for? What's he playing there across his box and going for the return? We're not all comfortable with that. So we've got to decide what we like and what we want to see. I like John Stones. Would I have him at Arsenal? Can't afford him, right? The price is 50 million. But I quite like him. But I do like Gabriel, and I think I'd just like to see us be a bit patient with him. I think he's got real potential.
Okay. All right. Cool. Let's move it along. What did I want to ask now? I wanted to move on to... let's move along to the Everton game then. So, Wenger decided to make changes around the 70th minute mark. Brought off Welbeck, brought off Iwobi, brought on a couple of other players. Who do you see? I mean, it's like you said in the last podcast, Clive, it's going to be a quick turnaround. It's not going to be a chance to sort of analyse this game or even really looking ahead to the Everton game in terms of what we need to do. But who do you think is likely to start in that game, and what kind of shape and tactics do you think we need to employ to get a good return out of the Everton game?
Sorry, was that to me, mate?
Yeah, go on, Mark, because you've been silent for a little while.
No, sorry, it's just I didn't realise who you were actually asking. I dropped off to sleep there while you two were arguing about centre halves. Being
a former centre half himself.
Yeah. Obviously, Coquelin will play because with Flamini presumably injured coming off at half time, we're fucked for anyone else. I'm hoping that the substitutions he made last night were because he realises that Welbeck is our best choice to play up top, and that Iwobi might be a good option to maybe play in one of the wide roles as well. So I'm hoping that's why, and it's not just that he was giving Giroud 20 minutes to loosen himself up so that he can start on Saturday. I mean, Welbeck, we're a very different side when Welbeck starts up top, as Clive has already said. He makes us play a bit faster. He gives us that different movement round the back, and also with the ball where he'll run at the defender. So I'm hoping, I'm praying that he'll go with Welbeck up top, and that Iwobi may get another chance. With Wenger, though, you don't know. I think I think Saturday's starting lineup will be very interesting in terms of what Wenger's thinking.
Clive, what about yourself?
Yeah, I'm a bit torn on this, right? I think obviously the back five. I think he'll go with Gabriel again. I think he'll play that. I think Coquelin, El Neni will play. Ozil will play. Sanchez will play. Maybe he started to see Sanchez on the right a bit more. I think Welbeck will start centre forward, and it's that left side. And I think he'll probably go Campbell. I don't know why. I just feel he will. I just think it'd be a bit much to ask Iwobi to play at the new camp, and then 2.5 days later turn up at Goodison and expect to do something special at that game. So I just think he'll play Campbell. I think he'll play him on the left. And I think he'll have that sort of hard-working forward line. So that's how I see it. We should be talking about Theo Walcott here, shouldn't we? He didn't play, and normally we'd say, well, Walcott's definitely going to play, but he seems to have dropped off a cliff, right? So I don't.
The second half, didn't he? He came on in the second half, but
yeah, really impressive. Yeah.
I actually thought that he should have come on earlier, not because to give him like minutes for Everton, but just to save Danny. Let him run. I was thinking, just let Theo Walcott run at him. I mean, let him stretch his legs and do something. Give Danny a bit of time, a bit more time to sort of like get right for Saturday. But he didn't. He left it till around the 70th minute mark. But go on anyway.
It will be interesting to see what happens because Walcott should be playing in this game, right? That's the trick. He should be playing in this game on the right hand side. Sanchez left and Welbeck up front. But we're all petrified. We can't trust him. We don't know which one's going to turn up. The 2 out of 10 Walcott or the 9 out of 10 Walcott. There'll be nothing else in between, that's for sure. But I've always theory, Theo, if you get him angry enough, if you get him angry, he suddenly wakes up and starts to play. I think it'd be interesting to see if Wenger's got him angry. And what he does sometimes with him is he drops him for like 8 or 9 games and then brings him in. And by then, Theo's proper angry. And then he plays. And he did it at the end of last season. He didn't bring him back after the injury as quick as Theo wanted to. Yeah. And he made him wait. And by the time he got on the pitch, he exploded on the pitch and ended the season really well. I wonder if he's going to do the same again. But with Theo, I think he gets too comfortable and you just got to make him angry. And once you do, he can turn up. But I'm just hoping here like a fan. I don't know what he's going to do. I'm no longer prepared to trust him after 10 years and worry about it too much.
Going back to the centre-halves debate that we Clive, at Lee Sheridan 10 said, should Chambers be starting at centre-back with Koscielny? And he also says, Bellerin not looking good defensively. What do you say to that? Personally, I don't think Chambers is ready to start ahead of the other two defenders in front of him.
Not yet. But he's had some good moments actually. I think he deserved more time. I think Mertesacker played too many games. I think there was opportunity for Chambers to get more minutes at centre back. But also, I think rather than bringing on Flamley for the last 25 minutes in holding midfield, which I think is a terrible substitution. Why not give Chambers those minutes, right? So I think we should give him more time on the pitch. But right now we're in crunch time Saturday morning, so it's not the time to make him feel good. Yeah. But on Bellerin, I again, what he's done has been incredible. So again, another one we should give a break to. Wenger being Wenger has let Debussy go, and when Debussy's on form, we feel we could do with him, and Bellerin's had to play a lot of games. He has been caught high on occasions, a little bit too high, but I don't worry about him too much. I do think we need to get that right centre half sorted out and the right side of midfield. So Bellerin is the one person that plays most games, but who plays in front of him, it always changes, and who plays inside him, it always changes. So not only are we asking a 20-year-old in his first full season to play most games, but we're changing all the partnerships around him regularly, and I think it's difficult for him. So just give him a break. He'll be fine.
And also, I think I'm not sure if Lee's sent that question in on the back of last night's performance, but you're talking about one of the best centre forwards in the flipping world. That he was up against, and Neymar will give many right backs kittens. But anyway, moving on. Next question from Mark. I'm going to ask. This is from @1touch_footy. Thoughts on needing a striker? Everyone always talks about DMs and centre backs.
Yeah, well, as Clive alluded to earlier, our conversion rate from the shots we have is pretty piss poor, and there is a shortage of world-class strikers out there. Danny Welbeck, as much as I like him, I wouldn't suggest was a world-class striker because he's not clinical enough. There's not that many out there. So what do you do? And if you want to get one, you're going to have to pay top dollar for him. So, it all really depends. We'll have to see. I mean, we need players in so many positions, and if we want the best, I'm not even sure that Sir Chips' 200 million quid was enough, to be fair. So I think Wenger will have some choices to make about what he can get away with and what he really can't get away with anymore. I've got a horrible feeling that he'll use the usual, the quality's not available, or that we can't compete with the clubs with more money when it comes to finding them. So, yeah, whilst I would love someone like Luis Suarez in the side, it's not going to happen unless you can find someone like him for 40 million, and they ain't around.
Okay, all right. Go on, Clive, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I was just going to say, right, we spoke earlier about players that could go, and that I think that will happen regardless if the major goes or stays. But I'll tell you what, right, when we talk about players coming in, I don't see a massive list that people are talking about. Right? We talk about centre halves. We haven't really mentioned anybody, right? We're talking about centre forwards. We've not really mentioned anybody, right? So, and we're all, we've all got our videos and YouTubes and stuff like that. But there really is where the market we should be shopping in. Where are those players, right? Where are they? We can't take them off Barcelona, right? So where are they? We can't take them off Bayern. So we got a problem. We really have. And if we are going to steal somebody, we're going to have to break the bank. And I look at Arsenal's running costs, right? We lost a few million this year. Although we got money in the bank, our general football running costs, we spend what we earn, right? So if we're going to have to go into a little bit of a bit of debt, yeah, we're going to have to go into it, right? So I don't think the club want to do that. They want to keep that sustainable model, right? So it's a worry for me. And again, it comes back to the Colney Crash. We have too many players on 6 million a year, 4 million a year, getting that extra year out. That's like Arteta and Ziki Flamini. That shouldn't be. And that's serious money. That's like 15 million a year on wages, and that's real money, right? So we've got to be a lot more ruthless, in my opinion, and what we do in the squad, and be a little bit more timely about how we trim it and get our running costs down. No more flipping pensions, right? No, it's not a charity; it's a business, right? So we got to sort that out.
I just want to say on the running costs, we are getting the money from the TV deal next season, so
Yeah, so's everybody else.
Yeah, so I know you're saying it's a little diminishing returns, but we shouldn't really be so worried about. I mean, if it comes down to spending the big bucks to get whoever it is, if he's worth it, then we should spend. Because I believe Wenger knows who the world class strikers are. You saw from 3 years ago, even if he was serious or wasn't serious about getting Higuain or Suarez or whoever, he knows who they are and he knows how much they cost. It's all about whether you're prepared to pay it or not. It doesn't take a genius scout to work out who they are. It comes down to whether you've got the balls to actually put the money down and do the talking. Other than that, then it's going to be a case of look at stat DNA and get your scouts to try and see if they can confirm the numbers.
Yeah, I suppose I'll tell you what's changed, right? There's a number of young players that I think in the days gone by he would have got. Can you imagine like Paul Pogba going to Manchester United in the first place? I mean, what happened there? That wouldn't have happened years ago. And I look at Martial. Okay, he went for a lot of money in the end, like 59 million if they paid the whole lot up. But come on, those days gone by, he'd be at our place, right? So Kingsley Coman, what's going on?
He turned us down because he wasn't going to be promised enough playing time. Apparently, that was the.
Yeah, so I mean, this is. I just go back and judge him on the standards that he set, right? He's the one this way. I just think other people are now doing what he used to do, and they're competing with him. And I listen to Robbie always says this, right? He needs to be more aggressive. I just don't think he is at the moment. Or the club is, we don't know, right? So, but I don't want to be. We can't buy Martial now. Even if we like him, we can't afford to. He's gone. It's too much, right? So, we got to be smarter like we used to be and get these players at a younger age.
Mark, I've got a question here from Hass_AFC, and he asks, is Iwobi, Ozil, Alexis and Welbeck our most potent front four?
It's horses for courses, isn't it? I mean, I'd say stick with it now because not stick with it now, but I'd say they're probably one of the best. But as Clive said, and he's right. I kind of had forgot that a 19-year-old lad has probably expended a lot of emotional and mental energy playing at the new camp as well as physical energy. So 2.5 days later is probably not a good idea to go at Goodison. So yes, ideal game for Campbell to come in, or maybe even Walcott. So I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's still horses for course. I don't think any of them bar Ozil, Ozil and Welbeck and Sanchez are definite. I think the fourth one could be a mixture of any of the others. You could even say that there are some games where Giroud is suited, but Giroud seems to have gone off the boil. Walcott, his form is just non-existent. And Campbell doesn't seem to be getting much of a chance at the moment for whatever reason. So yeah, I think it's a real mix and match, but we're just in such a malaise at the moment. I think that I'm not convinced it really matters who we play from now till the end of the season. I don't think the players are up for it.
Cool. All right. I want to go on to the final subjects for tonight, and unfortunately, Clive, we come back to Wenger. As we've seen on social media this week, Ian Wright and Lee Dixon said that he may leave if he doesn't achieve top four or doesn't win the league. Henry Winter wrote an extensive piece on, quite an in-depth piece on the Times this week, talking about Arsenal's history and where Wenger is and whether he's yesterday's man. I've got a question here. We've got quite a few questions about Wenger, but one of them is, if he leaves this summer, who should we bring in? Where do you are you worried, or are you concerned that Wenger could leave this summer, he could fall on his sword, could walk away if he doesn't get the top four?
If he doesn't get a top four, I think it'd be interesting. I'm not sure he can ride it out, and I think the pressure's going to get incredible. That's his brand, right? That's always his thing. I've kept his club at the top level, so. If he doesn't do that, I know the club always say they budget for 1 year out. So, but if he doesn't do that, I think it's going to be very difficult for him in a year. Imagine he doesn't hit top four and Spurs win the league, right? So tell me, that's the worst case scenario. So, no, I don't think he could survive. And I'm not sure I'd want him to, right? So I think I'm ready for the club to be thinking about change. And I don't mind if that's footballers. I don't mind if that's board members. I don't mind if that's coaches. I want to see something different. And at the moment, the figurehead is a manager, and some people are looking at Kroenke, but I want to see something different. It's time to change something there because we look weak from the outside mentally. And we're getting laughed at, right? We've got players who play for Watford telling us how Arsenal got a small club mentality. That's not really where we want to be, right? So I think Arsenal are one of the biggest sleeping giants in the world, really, and we're not really owning our sides. So yeah, for me, I don't think it'll survive it. But as for a replacement, you want me to give you a couple of names?
Go ahead.
So as for a replacement, I think it's got to be somebody a lot sort of hungrier in their career, with something left to prove. And funny enough, someone I just look at, I think has got a real edge to him. He's Ronald Koeman. I think he's got an edge. When Southampton were failing this season, he really got stuck into those players. He didn't give them anywhere to hide. He brought the standards back up really quickly, and he's got their form back up. And I look at him, I look at how he talks about the game, his respect in the world as a player. I sort of like him, actually. I really like him. I think he's used to the league. That's the sort of person I would like to see come. Obviously, with our youth academy person, also being a Dutch person, maybe we go from a French back room to a Dutch back room. So that wouldn't disappoint me. But obviously,
you're ready. Is basically what you're saying, isn't it?
I'm ready, not in a nasty way, right?
No,
it's just right. It's time for something different. That's all it is. That's all it is.
Sorry to rush you, Clive, but I've got to ask Mark the same question. Mark, before you answer that question, yesterday me, yourself, and Lord Hillwood were talking about what it would mean for Arsenal to drop out of the Champions League places, and you guys said, it would cost Stan something like 50 or 60 million or something like that. Well, just to elaborate on what you were discussing last night.
To be honest, I wasn't really paying attention to that discussion, mate. It was more Steve that was clued up on the money. I mean, I think, look, Stan doesn't like losing a cent down the drain, mate. He'd be getting a magnet on a string and chasing it. Yeah. So yes, he don't like losing any money, but I think he one season is not going to really change his opinion too much. As much as I would love the scenario that Clive has just outlined to come about, I don't think it will. Even if we finished outside of the top four, I don't want to mention the other bit that Clive mentioned, because yes, that would make it a hell of a lot worse. But actually, would that make any difference footballistically to Leicester winning it? I don't think it does, to be fair. We need to forget just for a second who it is we're talking about, but does it make a difference from a football point of view? Not really. It would probably be less of a blow than Leicester, because of obviously the fact that Spurs are actually a reasonably big club in Middlesex. But I don't think he'd walk. I think he would not walk away on the first season finishing outside the Champions League places. I think he would not want to leave this club in those circumstances. He would have another year's on his contract. I think he would want to try and use that to regain a bit of self-pride and get the club back into the Champions League places, or do whatever he could. Problem is, as I said earlier, I don't think he'd have a great deal of cash. I mean, yes, we'll free up a lot of wages through binning off some of the dross that we've got. Could maybe raise a little bit more so that he'd have more money to spend. But I just think we'd have so much to do. And you've got City with a new manager. You may have United with a new manager. You will have Chelsea with a new manager. Those three clubs are going to go big.
Can I ask you both? Go on. And who would you be your choice if you had a choice, or you don't really care?
My choice would have been one of the three managers that we've lost out on because we kept Wenger on, so it would have been Guardiola, possibly Klopp, or Ancelotti. But I think what Clive said about Koeman is a really good shout in terms of everything he's got. He's got experience. He's played the game, not necessarily a huge thing at the moment, but I do think him having played the game helps to understand. He's got English Premier League experience. He's settled in the country. He plays decent football. The academy with the Dutch setup would be nice. I think yes, I'd love it, and who knows, maybe he could get Dennis Bergkamp alongside him to try and win him a little bit more favour and time with the fans, because it will be very difficult for whoever the next manager is.
I'll tell you who I'd like, as well as Koeman's a great shout as well. I'm not going to say Simeone, I'm going to say Max Allegri. I know he messed up a bit last night where he took off Morata, but I'm really impressed with his ability to take on a club such as Juventus after Conte did such a fantastic job, and not really cause upheaval and sort of tear up the script book, but carry it on. I think he's very tactically astute. He wouldn't. I mean, I know he got lambasted a bit for the Italy job, but I think he's a good tactician. I think he's very flexible. He threw Guardiola some new shapes the other night, and Guardiola took time to actually work it out. So I wouldn't be displeased to see him coming. One last question. It's from our friend Steve Neighbour, and he asks, assuming Wenger is going in 2017, should the club be looking to appoint a director of football now to grow into the role? Mark.
The only problem I've got with that is that they'd probably fucking give it to Wenger. So and I really, like I said, I think it would be difficult for the next man that comes into the club, but next manager. So I think what would make that 100 times worse was that if Wenger was still at the club. But you can see that it's maybe it's the ideal sort of role for him. But I wouldn't like it. I feel it would be a bit like Ferguson haunting the life out of Moyes that season. Director of football, I don't know. I just think what we need to do is that Ivan Gazidis would need to wrest some of the control back from the manager that Wenger has got. And to be honest, I doubt a manager would come in and would really want that level of control, because you've really got to be mad to want to do everything. So I think it would be good for the club to actually have a full review and say, right, this is what the manager or the first team coach, if you want to call him it, this is what he does. He's in charge of the playing side of it. Everything else, we've got proper experts who are here to do that job and to take the pressure off the manager and let him just manage the team.
Do you see that happening? Could you imagine that happening after he leaves? Then do you think that would be part of the process? Would you? I mean, we don't know. We haven't got a crystal ball, but would you like to see that as part of the process of goes hand in hand with selecting a new manager? Do you think they'll do that?
Yeah, mate. If you're asking me, absolutely. Right. So you heard me talk to FK a couple of weeks ago about making succession planning, and that's exactly what I mean. Wenger in his current model is irreplaceable, right? He does everything. So we can't replace him. There is no one else out there to replace him. So we need 3 people to replace him. Literally. We definitely need a director of football. We need some coaches to help him. So I think it's an absolute must, because the whole structure of the club's got to change so that we are not ever in a situation where we have a single point of failure like we have right now. So you create that consistency at the higher level in the hierarchy, and then you bring individuals into that hierarchy, so you never leave yourself vulnerable like we are now. We are so dependent upon him, and I'm not comfortable with it. And it's not against him. If it was any one person that was that critical to us, I feel exactly the same. In fact, I'm glad it's him, because morally he's fantastic. He's a great man, wants to do the best things. He's coming to the end of his road, right? And I want to see change, because I just think it's the right time. And I want him to get out with his reputation and his legacy intact. That's what I want to see, right? So definitely, going back to the question, director of football got to be one of the things we need to do. It's not just about a manager; it's about the whole structure.
Okay, cool. I just want to ask you both. Go on,
Clive, would you have Wenger as the director of football?
You know what? I would have done a year ago. Seriously, I would have done. I think he's the perfect director of football. But now, I think right now, it doesn't feel good. If you win 9 games out of 9 and we win the league and all this has gone away, and then he wants to be director of football and he brings in somebody that we all like, then we will change our minds. But when I read things that Guardiola wanted to come and have Thierry Henry as his assistant, I don't know if that was paper talk. I'm thinking, oh man, that would have been nice, wouldn't it? It probably was paper talk, but because Wenger's here, we've missed out on the three good managers that would have connected the club again. Klopp is a connecting manager. I actually think he's maybe goes a bit too far with that, but he connects and unites clubs, right? Ancelotti is top quality, used to that director of football structure. And Guardiola is just, he's the genius on the street, right? So, and we've missed out on all of them. And I do think we could have got one of them if we'd have moved quicker. But that's not Arsenal.
here's my question to you guys. What influence do you think ex-footballers have, or what knowledge of what goes on inside a club do ex-footballers have? Because, you're listening to people like Wright and Dixon, and they're saying, it could be his, this could be his final year. How much inside knowledge or feeling for a situation do you think they have, Mark?
It's hard to say, isn't it, mate? Because you sit and you watch some of them, and it's so easy for ex-footballers to get jobs on the telly, and then you watch them, and they just chat a load of shit. Or you see ex-players who were brilliant at playing, and their managerial careers are just complete toilet. So I don't know. It's the thing we always need to remember is it's a completely different ball game. Being a player is completely different from being a manager. And
sorry, Mark. I'm not talking about being a manager. I'm talking about knowing what's going on inside. So when you hear ex-footballers say that, this might be his last year, or the manager's under pressure, or blah blah. But what do you think they have a feeling for what's going on inside the club, inside the inner circles of the club?
In terms of knowing, it's difficult to say because you don't know what they know. Footballers and the whole experience around a football club is full of people who will leak things. A lot of the time things are leaked on purpose. A lot of the time it's leaked maliciously, and sometimes it's just accidental gossip. I mean, while we've been on tonight, and we were talking about Alexis earlier, somebody I know has messaged me, and I don't go in for all that ITK shit, and I'm not saying this is true, but someone has messaged me to say that, Alexis has a real big problem at the club at the moment, that he's had a major falling out with one of the other professionals at the club, and he is definitely looking to get out of the club. That could be complete bollocks, I don't know. But this is a rumour that comes out of the club, and that's what football's like. Do players get any better rumours than the son of the chef or the uncle of the gardener? Who knows, mate? I don't know. But you've got to also remember that sometimes their loyalty will blind them. Lee Dixon would be very, very hard-pressed to say that Arsene Wenger needed to go. Alan Smith today in the newspaper, he said Wenger needs to go. So it all really depends on, how much loyalty they've got as well. It's not just about whether they've got insight. It's a question of what they're prepared to say, particularly in the media, because they're putting their professional reputation at stake.
Clive?
Yeah, this is an interesting topic, actually. And I have been to training a couple of times at Colney, and one thing that really struck on me, was the family environment there and who's really important there. I'll tell you one of the most important people at Arsenal, and that's the chef. He holds that club together, mate. I'll tell you, he really does. He's massively important. And there's a family inside Arsenal that is as tight as a drum. It is amazing. And once you do have the opportunity to get inside to the inner work into the club, just to visit for like 3 hours or so, you feel immediately loyal. You'd never let any rumours come out. It's almost like you go into the inner circle, and why would you ever say anything? I've mentioned a few little trinkets I've mentioned, but there's other stuff I would never mention. And there was other stuff that the club would never let an outsider see. It really is tight. And if you're part of the family, no, you may know something, but it's never going to come out. If you're not part of the inner family, you may opine on something, but you wouldn't know the details, right? So there is an inner circle in the game, right? And agents fuel rumours and hangers-on fuel rumours. There's a massive inner circle, some of it moral, some of it immoral. And that's why they absolutely focus on that club and the sanctity of Colney and keeping everything in the family. There's not lots of stuff that come out of Arsenal, if you notice. You don't hear much, and that's down to the operation that they run, and that's a credit to them. So I'm not a buyer, mate. I think players were just opining on what they think will happen based on the fact that they're in a public arena on TV and they're listening to what fans are saying, and they're just basically having an opinion. I don't think it's based on any fact.
Cool. All righty then. All right. So that's been Gooner podcast. Just quickly before we go, predictions for Saturday, Mark. Win, lose or draw for Arsenal?
I can't do it for Everton. I'm gonna go with a draw.
Okay, Clive.
See, I haven't given up hope, right? I really haven't given up hope. I think Leicester and Spurs are both topping off. I've not given up hope, and I think we're going to win. And I think we're just going to look a little bit different over the weekend. So this is it. This is it, mate.
Oh, Clive, I love you.
I'm back in the room. Where's my rosette?
You see, and this is the difference. Yeah, this is the difference. Yeah, is that you will kick a fan in the bollocks all day long, every season, and yet we will still get back up. Most of us will still get back up and go. You know what? Yeah, we can win the league. We can win the next 9 games. I know we've been playing shit for the last month, but we can win the next 9 games.
1 in 8. Don't worry about it. The next 9 are ours.
Oh, mate.
All right, well, that has finally been a Gooner Ramble podcast. We've tried to keep it shorter than we have recently, but I hope you enjoyed it. I want to thank the regulars. I want to thank Mark. He's our resident Alexis Sanchez. All right, mate. Thanks for coming on.
Cheers, mate.
And also our one and only Danny Wilbert. I was going to say Phil Walker, but he won't appreciate it.
No,
Thanks for coming on. Overpaid, overhyped.
Exactly.
Thanks for coming on, mate. Speak to you soon. You can catch us on all the major platforms. And to the guy that asked about whether we can come up with, whether we're available on Stitcher, we will be looking out for it. We will be looking to try and make ourselves available for Android users. I know it's quite difficult for you guys to find us out there, but we will be looking into that. So stay tuned. All right. So that's been a Gooner Ramble podcast. Thanks for listening. Up the Arsenal.